Hey, welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, really glad you stopped by. So, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been reading a recipe and come across a word like fold, or blanch, or deglaze, and just thought, what does that actually mean? Like, genuinely, what am I supposed to do right now? If that's ever happened to you, don't worry at all. You're honestly not alone. And today, that's exactly what we're going to sort out together. We're going to walk through the most common cooking action verbs, the words that show up in recipes every single day, and I'm going to explain what they mean, how to do them, and more importantly, why they actually matter. Because once you understand these words, recipes stop feeling like a mystery, they start feeling like a conversation. You know, I think a lot of people feel a bit intimidated in the kitchen. And honestly, a huge part of that is just vocabulary. It's not that cooking is hard, it's that nobody ever sat down and said, hey, here's what these words actually mean in plain language. So that's what I want to do for you today. Think of this less like a lesson and more like a friend walking you through the kitchen and saying, oh yeah, that just means this. Easy, right? Okay, let's start from the beginning. All right, so let's start with cutting, because this is where most of us begin whenever we cook, right? And there are actually a few different ways to cut something, and they're not all the same thing, which is why recipes are so specific about it. So first, chop. This just means cutting something into rough, irregular pieces. There's no pressure to be precise here. It's great for things like onions going into a stew where it all breaks down anyway. Then there's dice, which is a step up. You're cutting into even little cubes. Small dice, medium dice, large dice. The reason you want evenness here is so everything cooks at the same rate. Makes sense, right? Now, mince. This is as fine as it gets. Think garlic or ginger. You're cutting it so small it practically disappears into the dish, which is exactly what you want. And slice is just clean, flat cuts. Think carrots or cucumbers. Simple. And then there's julienne, which sounds fancy, but just means cutting things into thin little matchsticks. You'll see it a lot with stir-fries and salads. Once you know these 5, honestly, the prep section of any recipe becomes so much clearer. And then we've got roast and broil, both oven methods. Roasting uses surrounding dry heat, great for vegetables and whole cuts of meat. Broiling uses direct heat from above, which gives you that browned, slightly crispy top you get on gratins or certain fish dishes. Both are wonderful, just different tools for different jobs. Now, here's a section that I think a lot of people skim over, mixing. And I get it, it sounds a bit boring, but honestly, the way you mix something can completely change how a dish turns out. So bear with me here. Stir is your everyday workhorse. You're just combining things together. Nothing special, just keep it moving. Whisk means you're using a whisk to beat air into something. Eggs, dressings, batters. The goal there is to lighten it and combine it really smoothly. Now fold. This one matters a lot, and I'd love for you to remember it. When a recipe says fold, please don't stir. What folding means is that you're gently lifting and turning the batter or mixture rather than stirring aggressively. You're trying to keep air in there, like when you're folding whipped cream into a mousse or combining wet and dry ingredients for a cake. If you stir it too vigorously, you knock all that air out, and the result ends up dense instead of fluffy. It's a small thing, but it makes a real difference. Then there's toss, just coating things evenly, like a salad or pasta. And blend, which is your blender doing the heavy lifting for smooth soups, smoothies, and sauces. Simple enough, right? Okay, we're almost there. And this last section is really where I see a lot of home cooks leave the most flavor behind, so I hope you'll stick with me. Marinate. This means soaking your protein or vegetables in a mixture of acid, oil, and seasoning before you cook them. The acid tenderizes, the flavors get absorbed, and your end result is so much more interesting. Even 30 minutes makes a difference. Overnight makes it extraordinary. Season, and I mean this in the broader sense, is about tasting as you go and adjusting. It's not just throwing salt in at the start, it's a habit of tasting, thinking, and adjusting throughout the whole cooking process. It's honestly one of the most important things you can develop as a cook. Drizzle is that final touch. A little olive oil over a salad, a honey drizzle over a dessert, a sauce swirled onto a plate. It sounds small, but it does genuinely elevate the presentation and adds a final layer of flavor. And finally, please let your meat rest before you cut into it. I know it's tempting to slice right in, especially when it smells amazing. But those 5 to 10 minutes of resting allow the juices to redistribute back through the meat, so every single bite is tender and juicy instead of running dry on your board. It's such a simple thing, and it makes such a big difference. And that's really it. Those are your everyday cooking action verbs, explained in a way I hope actually makes sense. We covered cutting, heat, mixing, and finishing. None of it is complicated once you know what the words mean, and I really hope this makes your time in the kitchen feel a little more comfortable and a little more fun. If you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate a like. It honestly helps more people find videos like this one. And if you have a cooking word that's always confused you, drop it in the comments. I genuinely read every one, and it might just become the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, enjoy your cooking, and I'll see you in the next one.